Good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. How are you? Maybe I want that right on this side. What do you think? Yeah, we'll put it on that side, see how that looks. Anyway, good morning, my friends. How are you? I just made a major error here. I went to refill my coffee cup with the coffee that's out there and didn't realize it, and it's cold. Kevin was on early. Bernie, good morning. How are you, buddy? How you feeling? Hope everything is good with you. I hope your health is good. Let's try that right here. Maybe that's where I need it. Hey, Craig, good morning. Thank Nick. Appreciate that. It was a long hunt, and my patience paid off. Charles checking in from Nobbin Way. How are things in the U? Good morning, Rachel. How are things at the Shock household? Oh, I can actually move a little bit here. There. Hey, Tim, good morning. Cliff, how are you? Thanks for joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Oh, yeah, the sunshine's nice, isn't it? Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Doug is out sitting by a turkey decoy this morning, and I will be talking to you this afternoon, Doug, on the Angler Quest podcast. I look forward to that. Hope you had a good trip, too, as well. See a new grandbaby, right? Robert, good morning. Hey, Aaron, how are you? Aaron, are you going back to White River? For some reason, I'm thinking you're going back to White River this spring, but I think maybe I just made that up. Hey, Bernie, good morning. Bernie, I'm glad if you ever were back to normal. Well, whatever normal is, hey, Bernie, we've all got our own sense of what normal is. You wish. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking. Maybe I saw your comment the other day and thought, hey, Aaron's going back to White River. Not this year. Okay. I will be heading up there in just a few weeks now. Good morning, Ross. Well, thank you. I'm glad your mom enjoyed that. Turkey slayer. That's me. All right. I'm a turkey slayer. Only took what? How long did it take? Let's just check this out. Turkey season started back there. 1, 2, 3. No, it took more than that. It took more than 3 weeks, didn't it? It feels like it took forever. Excellent, Doug. Anyway, I did miss a bird opening morning, and I hunted almost every day since the first day of the season. Now, I had a lot of people say, how are you still hunting, Avery? Are you hunting outside of your season? Because a lot of the northern hunts are 7 days, 10 days, whatever they are. I had hunt number ZZ, which is Southern Michigan private land. The season runs from April 22nd all the way through the month of May. So it is a great season to have because you can stay out there working hard. Bernie says, bear hunting in Ontario is a great experience. Everyone should try at least once. I'll be going up there in about 3 weeks now. Hey, good morning, Jim. Thanks. I appreciate that. So I did. Morning, Jay. Joy. Alan says, good morning, Mike. Who would I talk to find out if my turkey is a state record? 10 and 16-inch beard and a 10 and 16. Oh, 14-inch beard and an inch and 10/16 spurs. CBM. Find a CBM scorer. They can do that for you. Good morning, Cap. How are you? Are you still on the Detroit River, Mark, or are you up on Saginaw Bay now? Captain Mark Pananzak. Sal, good morning. I don't think I've heard from you in a while. How have you been? I hope everything is good in your world. Rachel mentioned the weather. Isn't this nice? Finally, a break in the weather. It feels like it's going to be nice for the next several days now. So I hope you get a chance to get out and enjoy. Oh, that's so nice. Jen says, "Good morning to my favorite Mike. Hope you have a wonderfully blessed day, my friend." Well, right back at you, Jen. That is such a nice thing for you to say. Apparently, you don't know me very well. Oh, that's nice, Jen. You and your hubby Tim are two of the good people. Okay, I want to follow up on a couple of things here. Detroit River until Saturday. Saginaw Bay starts Monday. Excellent. Ben, good morning. How are you? Thank you for the congrats. I appreciate that. Did you see, good morning, Art. Did you see the posts of the nets filled with walleye on Saginaw Bay? I did some investigation on that. It looks bad. It looks like that commercial fisherman was doing something very wrong. I checked with the DNR commercial fisheries officer who investigated that complaint. Here's the interesting part. You might think that commercial fishermen would be required to check or empty their nets every so often, right? Every day, every other day. What? They're not. So that's point number one. Point number two is these were not tribal fishermen. The tribes can't come down that far south yet. So it was can I say this? It was a white or a non-tribal licensed fisherman. And there was nothing illegal about what he did. There is no mandate on how often commercial fishermen have to check their nets. I didn't realize that, because if you're a muskrat trapper, you've got to check your traps every day. In the Yup, every other day down here, vice versa, something like that. So that's interesting. And the commercial fisherman says that in a trap net, which those were, a fish should be able to swim out unless somebody messed with the nets. The commercial fisherman says that the only thing he can come up with is somebody was messing with his nets. Somebody had gone out there and lifted it or pulled it or something, and when they reset it, it screwed the net up and the fish couldn't get out. Good morning, Rhea. Thank you, Bill. Billy said he had no doubt that I would seal the deal with that turkey. I knew if I stayed out there long enough, I was hunting some good properties. I knew if I stayed out there long enough and I was patient and I was in the right spot at the right time, that I would. I actually thought I was going to kill a bird Sunday night at the property next to the house. I didn't. So I was pretty optimistic I was going to kill one Monday morning. But thank you. I have an old Henry 44 mag that holds 10 rounds with one in the chamber. Do you know if I can hunt with it here in Michigan if I only load 3 out? Yes. Doesn't matter what the capacity is. My understanding doesn't matter what the capacity is, as long as you are only loading it with a certain number of bullets, cartridges. That's my understanding. My understanding. Sal says, to be honest, I don't know you from anywhere. My Facebook recommended you to me, and your post is worth reading. Okay. Although we are not friends on Facebook, and I don't like to write the comment section, I'm sure will you enjoy this comment. I don't want to send you a friend request without your permission. That would be rude. That's why I'm asking you. If it suits you, please send me a friend request. Let's be friends. Sal, I reckon. This is Rhea doing this to Sal. Okay, bye, Rhea. Rhea's gone. That freaks me out. It creeps me out. Good morning, Jason from the Ford Dearborn Truck Plant. Michigan Outdoors Report says, great work in your town. Way to wreck broadhead. She was a scammer. I didn't catch that right away, Ross. So I did switch broadheads. I switched from the Rec mechanical, the expandable, to the Rec FX4. Because to be honest, I didn't like the way the expandables were flying. I couldn't get them to group, which is weird with an expandable. So I went to the FX4s, and they're shooting like field points. That's what I took that bird with. Good morning, Ruben. How are things in Colorado? Mike making a joke says, congrats on the bird. Now time to start trolling, or go ahead and bust out your crawlers. I'm just waiting on my boat, and there won't be any crawlers on it. Good morning, Stephen. How are you? Thank you, Cap. Not the first time I got trolled, but thanks for the obvious there, Ed. That's what happens when you have a page that has some 80,000 people on it. Bound to be a few idiots. Not that she was necessarily an idiot, but she was doing friend requests to people here on the page. Okay. So there will be the situation up on Wigwam Bay in Saginaw Bay has been investigated. There will be no citations written, no tickets issued. There will be no recourse. The investigating officer told me, even though there is not a law on the books that commercial fishermen have to check their nets or pull their nets every so often, he said it's kind of a self-regulating situation because the commercial fishermen don't want to leave their nets out there filled with money, which is what those fish are. Now, this particular net was filled with walleye. You can't target walleye on Saginaw Bay. He was probably up there targeting perch. Bill said, I thought you already had your boat from last year. What are you waiting for? The boat was waiting for me last year at the Angler Quest plant in September. I didn't pick it up because I don't fish in the fall, which is a mistake. I'm going to try to fish this fall. The folks at Angler Quest wanted to do some tweaking on that boat. They wanted to make some improvements. They wanted to add some new design modifications, and that's what I'm waiting for. A 5-gallon bucket of night crawlers? That's a lot of slimy crawlers. Good morning, Chris. How are you? So that's the situation on Wigwam Bay and the nets. Kevin says self-regulating never works. Oh, speaking of regulations, I was actually in Detroit last weekend because my wife and daughter ran a race down there. Very, very cool experience, by the way. It was a very emotional experience, and it was beautiful. Uncle Johnny, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you and your lovely bride, and you're doing a nice job on the house. It looks great. So in Detroit, so I was paying attention to what's going on in Detroit, and there are some people in Detroit who want to make much of the downtown area gun-free zones. And I'm thinking, as a guy who's walking the streets of Detroit and who carries a gun, I like the comfort of knowing that I'm armed, and I pray that I'll never have to use it, and I bet that I never will. But it's something that makes me feel good, and I know I can protect myself and the people around me if, God forbid, something happens. So I'm thinking if they make those areas gun-free zones, who's that going to impact? Only the law-abiding people. Do you think the bad guys are going to quit carrying guns in downtown Detroit because they're now gun-free zones? How much of a brain surgeon, how much of a moron do you have to be to realize that's not the case? Good morning, Dave. How are you? Ross says, I have a wedding coming up in June of 2024, not yours. Your daughter's getting married. Congrats. My daughter's getting married Labor Day weekend of this year. Ed says, yeah, because those gun-free zones seem to work so well. Ed says lots of the Riverwalk area is now gun-free. I didn't realize that. Very true, Steve. The fish in the nets were trashed. They were junk. They had to be just let go. And if you see the video looks very bad. Very bad. Interesting, Eli. Sounds like they're making a watering hole for predators by going to a gun-free zone. That's an interesting point. And by watering hole, he means like a bait station for the predators. If you know you've got a gun-free zone, you've got unarmed people there, in theory, that you can prey on because you as a criminal didn't give up your gun, but the law-abiding people were supposed to give up theirs. Here we go. Scott Hand, Walleye for Warriors, is sending out the final email confirmation next weekend. Good on captains and full on veterans. Never fails that we have last-minute cancellations, though. A follow-up on that, and Scott's not telling me this, but I talked to him earlier. If you, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong here. If you didn't get an email confirmation as a veteran that you're involved in Walleye for Warriors, you're probably not, because it filled up pretty fast. And some of the vets who signed up were too late. So Scott, correct me again if I'm wrong, because we had people last week saying, hey, I never got my confirmation. Well, you didn't get your confirmation because you applied too late. Is that right, Scott? I know, Eric. It's mind-boggling, isn't it? People are dumb, Tim. The older I get, the more I realize that a significant percentage of the population in the world today are stupid. And how they live to be this long, I don't know. Joe says Morel's finally popping up. Okay, so let's talk about one other thing here too. I've had a lot of people try to send me pictures through Facebook that they want me to share on my page. I would love to. I like doing that. It used to be very easy to share pictures on Facebook. You, as somebody who follows my page, could click a button and upload your picture, and I could click another button and share it. Facebook decided that was too easy, and they've made it so hard. Scott says that is correct. These days, if you want me to share a picture on my Facebook page, and I'm happy to do that and will do that as soon as I get a chance, I don't always get to it immediately. Send them to me in an email. Send it to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Send me an email to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Attach the picture. Give me a very brief description of what it is, who it is, where it was from or whatever, and I'll share it. But you've got to send me an email, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Scott Hand said that is correct, that if you did not get your confirmation as a veteran for Walleye for Warriors, you're not fishing Walleye for Warriors this year. Maybe the real plan is to have more gun crime, some more gun laws. Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer, how are you? Scott just got back from a trip to Graceland. Very special place. Congrats on your turkey. Thank you. I appreciate that. Good morning, Jonathan. How are you? Good. 4 minutes. You can text it to me, Johnny. Absolutely. If you don't have email and you have my cell number, feel free to text it. But I'm not giving my cell number out on air. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Mike, if you didn't get an email confirmation on Walleye for Warriors, you missed the cutoff. We're just talking to Scott Hand right now. He's on here right now. Good morning, Martin. How are you? I am not fishing Walleye for Warriors myself. I will be there Sunday to help MC the event, but I'm not fishing Walleye for Warriors. One thing, I don't have a boat yet. Going to be an interesting summer when I take a week off to go bear hunting right during primetime fishing, and I got a whole bunch of charity trips to do, plus a daughter getting married. I may have stepped on my own toes this summer. Roger, glad to hear how to send a picture through your email. No problem, Roger. My pleasure to do that. Okay. Next week, Mike, first day, I'm not a captain, just a vet. Mike Critchfield, who was, he said he sent his application in the first day. So that's interesting. All right, Mike. I'm sorry to hear that. Steve says, do you have to carry your physical hunting and fishing license with you these days? Not counting kill tags. Is it all digital? Put it on your phone. And if you don't have it on your phone, they can look it up. Is it a good idea to carry your license? Yes. Do you have to? No, because you can show digital proof of it. And yes, you do have to carry, obviously, the kill tag has to be carried with you. Morning, Dan. What? Oh, you can't wait to fish with me. Ross, I was adding up how much people paid to fish with me this summer on the charity events, and we raised a lot of money for charities. People, listen to this. We set a new record. There was an event last weekend where we auctioned off the last fishing trip with me for the summer, and it set a new record. $3,550 somebody paid to fish with Mike Avery on the Angler Quest on Saginaw Bay. Absolutely, Johnny. Good morning, Bruce. Well, I hope so, Kevin. Okay, next week on Wednesday Night Live, Amy Trotter, Executive Director of MUCC, will be along with me. Happy Mother's Day. I know it's a little bit early, but if you're not going to listen to the show, happy Mother's Day this weekend. Okay, in 1 minute, I have to start this. It's just Mother's Day weekend coming up. Yeah. The spot rundown? Yeah.
Oh, I see. I was looking at the wrong one.
Oh,
No. I got the test.
would you knock that temperature down 2 degrees on that thermostat while you're over there, Charlie? Please, thank you. Robert's sitting in his blind, turkey hunting right now. Beautiful morning, no gobbling. The bird I shot did not gobble at all. There was 2 birds that came in. There was no gobbling at all. All right. I'm going to switch focus here, and I'm going to switch from this microphone to this microphone here very, very shortly as I record the opening segment of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I will not be able to interact with you directly. 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. That's what I'm hearing. The opening of the radio show. Absolutely, it's specific. No, not much gobbling at all. Okay, so I'm going to record the first segment of the radio show, including telling the story of that bird that I shot Monday morning. I didn't get a chance to do that now. Tonight at 7 o'clock, I will be back to do another edition of Wednesday Night Live. I hope you can join me for that. Amy Trotter of MUCC on Wednesday Night Live next week. And I'd be drinking my coffee, except that I accidentally put cold coffee in there. So it's kind of gross. Here's Mike Avery. Have a good day, my friends. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan, and so glad to have you along with us. How are you? Are you enjoying the weather, which finally feels like maybe it's going to be nice? It does feel good, doesn't it? But hey, I mean, come on, it's almost the middle of May, so you would expect that it would be, but it's nice. It's so nice. So what's going on? My turkey hunting saga. You know, and it's painful for me to even say this, but I'll set the stage by reminding you about 20 minutes into opening day, which my opening day was back on April 22nd. I had 2 big, beautiful longbeards walk in on me 20 minutes after the opening of the season. I had my new crossbow all dialed in. I was ready to go, ready to rock, very confident. And I missed a bird. Not by much, but I missed him. And that started the saga of what would be a long season. Now, I've been posting updates online of how my hunts have been going. And I've had a lot of people say, how are you hunting so long? They say, my season was like 7 days. How are you still out there? Avery, do you have a deal with the DNR that lets you to hunt outside of season? No. No, I don't. My hunt is ZZ. And if you live in southern Michigan and have access to private land, I recommend ZZ because it started April 22nd and the season runs through the end of May. That's a long time. Now, I hope you don't need that much time to get your bird, but if you do, that's a long time. Southern Michigan, private land, ZZ, April 22nd through the end of May. So I missed that bird opening morning. Found out that my crossbow was off a little bit. I had done some last minute manipulation, which should not have affected the point of impact, but it did. And that was my bad. That was all on me. I made that mistake. I admit that. I screwed up and I paid the price. But because I'm pretty patient and pretty persistent and maybe stubborn, and because I'm blessed with a pretty flexible schedule, I had been hunting almost every day since April 22nd. Not all day. You know, I might go out for a few hours in the morning, might go out for a few hours in the evening, jumping around from property to property. And again, I'm blessed because I have access to, property too. I don't own any, but I have some very nice, very generous friends. So I was jumping around, playing cat and mouse, trying some different setups, tweaking where the blind was. I did make some changes. I wasn't happy with the way that my previous broadheads were flying. I couldn't get them to group, and they are expandable broadheads, which are supposed to fly like darts. But I wasn't happy with that, so I switched my expandable heads over to the REK FX4, which is a fixed blade head, which is not ideal for turkeys, but I wanted a head that I knew was going to fly straight. Almost every time out, I saw birds. I had birds in front of me. Not a lot of gobbling. They would gobble on the roost. They might gobble when they hit the ground, and then they would shut up. Almost every hunt, I was able to call in hens, multiple hens, and I thought, every time I'd call a hen in, or every time I'd just sit there and be quiet and a hen would wander by, I thought she's going to have a long beard behind her, and it didn't happen. So hunted almost every day from the opener in different locations with different setups, saw hens almost every time, and never had a long beard in front of me. I would see him as I was driving to my spot or away from my spot, back home. I'd see him out in the field nearby, but, not in front of me. So I made one more tweak. I thought, okay, a few years ago, I switched over from the cheap, inexpensive, not very realistic foam decoys to the Avian X decoys, which are very expensive, but they look like real birds. And so most of the season, I had been hunting with an Avian X feeding hen, which means she's got her head down. It looks like she's feeding. And another Avian X hen decoy where she's got her head up and her feathers are ruffled, and it looks like she's irritated about something. And I found that the dominant boss hens would come into that standing hen decoy, and they did not like her. They would puff up and they'd cluck at her and they'd pick at her. And that really got their attention. But I didn't know if there were actually toms off that were staring at my decoys and just didn't come in or whatever. So I thought, okay, it's getting late enough in the season. I'm going to make another change. What I wanted to do was buy another Avian X, and they're not cheap, and I don't get them free. I don't get a discount. I pay full price. I wanted to get a long beard in full strut. I thought if I can put a strutter out in that field next to the decoy, if there is a tom, a long beard, a gobbler out there somewhere, he's going to see that. He's not going to be able to pass it up, and he's going to come running in. Couldn't find one. But what I could find was a Jake decoy in semi-strut. So I got that. The other night, this is a few days ago now as you're hearing this, I thought for sure I was going to take a bird because I was sitting on the edge of a wheat field where the birds had been all the time. I had hens in front of me all night long, but no longbeards. Next morning, I moved to a new property. Kurt, a new friend of mine, going to be a good friend of mine, a fishing buddy of mine too, I think. He said, yeah, you can come on up and hunt here. I had a Wraith 270 see-through blind set up in a field on the edge of the woods. The birds had been coming out to this field almost every morning. So I put out those two hen decoys and I put out that Jake decoy. And it was a beautiful morning. It was the kind of morning where you said, this is the perfect morning to shoot a bird. And even if I don't, it's still the perfect morning. 7:15. I see three heads coming through the woods. And they're hens. But right behind them, two big, beautiful, strutting longbeards. Never gobbled, never made a sound. They just showed up. Those two longbeards went right to that Jake decoy, and they started to work that thing over. And they circled it, and they did a dance, and it was so cool. They were going around and around this Jake decoy in full strut, paying no attention to me in the blind. I had that Tacticam camera on my crossbow, and I was able to get this all on video, and it was surprisingly good quality for a Tacticam. And they're going round and round, and they were two adult birds, one of them a little bit bigger than the other. But at this point, I'm not going to be picky, right? So I waited. I watched them going around and around. I waited till I got just the right shot. It actually was the smaller bird, pretty big beard on him though. He came around the decoy. I squeezed the trigger on that crossbow. I sent that arrow at the bird, realizing I had missed a bird earlier in the season. I sent the arrow at that bird, and I center punched him exactly where it needed to be. He squatted a little bit, like, ooh, that's not right. He took a few steps. The other Longbeard could see he was hurt, so the other Longbeard started following him. The one that I shot went about 20 feet. He took a nosedive into the dirt and started to flop around. The other bird that was with him said, I'm going to take advantage of this situation, went over and jumped on the bird I had just shot, and he beat the snot out of him. Mother Nature's cruel. Very cruel. It was a beautiful morning. The sun was shining. It was warm. I got the entire thing on video. I saw the most close-up, beautiful interaction of Tom's on that decoy. I just let him sit there, going around and around, round and around before I shot him, round and around. I've got minutes of video of them going around and around that decoy, pecking at him. And that night, I shot that bird in the morning. And that night, my wife, Denise, I breasted that bird out. She took one of those breasts. She put it in the crock pot, let it cook all day long in white wine, threw some little potatoes in there, and it was excellent. So the moral of this story is, even if you screw up in the outdoors or maybe in life, if you are patient, if you are persistent and maybe a little bit stubborn and you don't give up and you keep at it, sometimes you're rewarded. And I was rewarded with a beautiful bird. Not that it matters, but 10-inch beard, small spurs. I don't care. It tasted great. And it was a great hunt. You can see that hunt, by the way, on my Facebook page. You can see the video of those birds circling the decoy. You can see what my setup looked like. You can actually see the shot. I would encourage you to go there. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine show after the break, Rich Grzan of Killer Food Plots, Gary Morgan from Wild Game Dynasty talking about what to expect from a bear outfitter. And before we go to the break, this is Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to my mom, my wife Denise, my mother-in-law Eddie, my daughter Jessica, my daughter-in-law Jessica, and to you, if you're a mom, you are the glue that holds our family together. We love you. We appreciate you. You are a blessing to us, and I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. God bless you. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, Rich Grzan of Killer Food Plots. Now is the time to get busy right here on Outdoor Magazine. Okay. Put all this stuff away and do some radio. USA hunting rifles are something more. They're built with precise tolerances to be extremely accurate, even at long range. In fact, Renton hunting rifles are guaranteed to be sub-MOA. And there's another guarantee, a forever warranty.
Hey, Rich, this is Jonathan with Mike Avery's radio show. How are you today? Doing well. Are you ready? All right, please hold. We'll have you on in just a little bit.
Predators, bear, deer, and even bigger game. Check them out online at RentonUSA.com. Renton hunting rifles, accurate, reliable, powerful. RentonUSA.com. You've seen them on the water. You've talked about them with your friends. Is this the year you step up to the most exciting big water fishing machine in Michigan? Angler Quest pontoons are built for the die-hard angler, and they get better every year. Now, they feature a sleeker design that opens up the transom. How are you, Jonathan?
Doing well.
Good. The stern has been included.